going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Dauntless Outdoors. Today's episode, we're diving out of St. Pete, Florida. Goal of today's episode is to shoot quite literally everything. We're on a commercial trip and we're going to try and shoot a lot of stuff. We're out here with Mirko and Colin, so catch in the water.
What's going on? Josh here. So, just hopped in the water. This is my first dive of the day. Headed down to the bottom, just checking the scene out, and I look over to my left, spot a pretty nice gag on the top of this wreck. So I slowly aim up on him to not spook him, take the shot, and I hit him pretty low. It's in the gut cavity, and I've got a pretty heavy shaft. It's 8.5 millimeters, so I figured if I let him sit there for too long, it would rip off. So I go get my hands on this fish, make sure to secure him, and head him on up to the surface.
Nice job.
Thank you, sir.
Start. Get another.
So this clip here is Colin. He's headed down to the bottom, same wreck. It's about 45 feet, and he's looking for some AJs. He's got a gun with a power head on it, and he looks to the edge of the wreck, spots a pretty nice gag, so he takes the power head off, lines up on him, takes a perfect shot, rolls the fish. Pretty much textbook scenario right there. Grabs the fish, heads on up to the surface, and lands his first gag of the day.
I took the power head off.
So Colin got that gag, and we weren't seeing that much more on that spot. So we decided to move. We're at about, I think, 65 feet of water, 70 feet of water, something like that. And Mirko shot one with one of these AJs with the power head, so I followed it down to the bottom. And obviously when you shoot with the power head, typically your shaft won't deploy. So his didn't, and he didn't have enough time to go grab it, but I had enough time to go down there and shoot it. So there wasn't much else going on in that spot, so we left, and we're now at a spot that's 80 feet deep. I hop in the water with Colin, and there's a pretty nice AJ right there. Take the shot, and unfortunately he rips off right there. So take my time, reload my gun, and just make sure that I'm doing all good. I grabbed a flasher, one of those throw flashers from Mirko, and threw it out, followed it down, took my time, made sure I was doing it right this time instead of ripping off another one. So headed down to the bottom, and as I'm looking around checking out for these AJs, spot right here, as you'll see, spot a Cobia at the bottom of that group, and there's another one above him. He was a little bit smaller than the one I shot at. So I take my time, didn't want to spook this fish. As you see, he's spooked right there. Apparently these Cobia don't really like me. I just had that happen 2 or 3 trips ago. But I follow him. I had more time this go around and take a really long shot. I ended up landing it. It was a pretty far shot there. Didn't know if I was going to have a holding shot on that one.
We got a Cobia. I need another shot.
So I get up to the surface, tell Colin I need a backup shot, and I pulled the fish up a little bit more so he can get down there, and he heads on down, takes the shot, and unfortunately, he hits it, but he hit it exactly where my shot was, so it didn't really do that much, and we just pulled him up really slowly, made sure he didn't rip off, and this is me, go back down, and make sure to grab him as soon as I can. I bear hugged him like right there, so he wasn't going anywhere, and ended up landing my first Cobia in a while, not too bad.
Got a nice Cobia. That'll do.
So I landed that Cobia, hopped back in the water, and Mirko can sell AJ for a good bit. So that's the goal of this episode, is to just try and shoot a bunch of AJs, and if we bump into some gags, definitely take the shot on them. So unfortunately that one ripped off, and now I'm headed down to the bottom. Colin shot an AJ, and he dropped his shaft when he was quick disconnecting it. So I go down here, find a shaft, and you never really want to waste a dive when you're going commercial. This was my first commercial trip, but still, you just want to make the best of your time. So I get down to the bottom and spot a gag out in the sand, really take my time and try and use these AJs as cover. He comes in close enough, I take the shot there, and as you can tell, there's that shark off the right side of him. So I have to make sure this fish gets off the bottom, because if he stays down there, he'll definitely get eaten. But unfortunately, that shark won't get a hold of him. So this is my first dive to the bottom on this spot, where I was actually planning on hunting some fish. So I get down here. When I was at the surface, I threw the flasher, let it sink before me until it got out of my viz, and then I followed it down. As you can tell, there's some gags out in the distance, but they didn't really like that I was looking at them and somewhat going towards them. So I just look down, look at some rocks, and move some sand around, and typically that'll work to make them calm down at least. So as you can tell, it worked pretty good. They're sitting there, not moving, and I'm just using these AJs as cover. Every time one blocks his vision, I get a little bit closer, and right there I felt like I was close enough, and he was turned sideways enough. So took the shot, and as I took that shot, I grabbed my flasher and headed up onto the surface. Wasn't the greatest shot, so I didn't want to pull on him too hard, but it was definitely a holding shot. So ended up landing my third gag of the day. So those past couple gags were about anywhere from 8 to 10 pounds, if not a little bit bigger, and that's gutted weight. I don't know if you saw it, but on my way down here, I spotted one right next to the flasher, so I just didn't even look up when I got down. Just instantly just went for the sand, tried to make them as comfortable as possible, and not spook them off. So as I look up, I see one to the left there, and he's pretty far, but it looked like he wasn't really going to come in any closer. So as he's swimming away, take the shot right here, but unfortunately shoot a little bit low. He was probably about a 12 to 14 pound gutted fish. So definitely a nice one. Ended up missing. Definitely wish I would have got him, but nothing you can do. Keep moving. So this is my last dive on this spot. I'm the only one in the water now. And I threw the flasher. On my way down, I saw one gag was picking up the flasher and dropping it. He's the one closest to it right now. And he's swimming off, but I spotted another one to the left. So I just take that time and really do this technique that works good on these gags. If you have enough bottom time, you can pretty much do it anywhere. And it always makes them distracted. So as you can see, this one was a little bit not as smart as the rest of them. I was grunting here trying to get him to turn, and because I knew I was in range at that point. As soon as he turned, took the shot and grabbed the flasher, checked back to make sure there wasn't any sharks or anything like that, and knew I was good to go. So I'm up to the surface and got my last gag of that spot. So we moved on. That spot was pretty good, but there wasn't as many AJs as we would like. There was plenty, but there wasn't any that were big. So we're now in about 100 feet of water. Get here, drop the flasher, and as you can tell, a bunch of AJs, some good ones, and took the shot on that one, grabbed the flasher, and headed up onto the surface. I had a power head on this shot, but unfortunately, if you don't hit anywhere that's actually vital, it's not going to do anything. I hit a little bit under the spine, so it didn't actually stop this fish. So I ended up just fighting him like a regular one, which was kind of a pain, but not too bad. So this dive is pretty interesting. I threw my flasher pretty far out in front of me, waited for it to sink, and now I'm headed down, hoping to see a big AJ. And as soon as I get to this flasher, I look down and spot this gag in the top right corner of the screen. As you can tell, pretty big gag. I saw him and I immediately knew I had to go down and at least try to shoot him. So I had a power head on. I didn't have enough time here to take it off, so I just took the shot. The shaft didn't go through the fish, so I knew I had to go grab him. I definitely would have landed him with a regular gun, so I don't really think it made a difference that I had one on, but pretty cool dive there. That fish was 18 pounds, not gutted, so Pretty big gag. This is my last dive on the spot. I'm headed down to the bottom. Well, not to the bottom, just to the middle of the water column. I didn't throw a flasher on this one. I was just hanging off the rope of the anchor and just looking around, hoping to see a big one. And that one, much bigger than the rest, swims by. Looked like I stoned him, so I didn't even try and grab him. And of course, as soon as I go to pull him, he freaks out and basically is the exact opposite of what you want to have happen with a powerhead. So, as you can tell, I'm pulling him up, and unfortunately, he's going to the left. He grabs that jug line and the anchor line. So he's making a mess down there now, and Mirko has to go down and take another shot. Typically, you really don't want that to happen, but not too bad.
Alrighty, y'all. Just got back to the dock. Ended up with, I think it's 8 gags, 8 AJs, and 2 Cobia. Not too bad. Biggest gag, he is 16 pounds gutted. And then biggest Cobia, 34 pounds gutted, right there. And we didn't get the weight on this AJ, but
This is a stud.
He's big. So, but thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe. Catch you next one.